Hello world. In this quick tip video, we're going to leverage the Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit to level up our security policies in our domain, specifically focusing on Windows 11 systems. So here we can see the website, and for the Security Compliance Toolkit, and what you would want to download is the latest version of the Windows 11 baselines. It is 24H2 is the latest. I'm going to skip all older versions since we need to be standardizing on that version anyway. And you need to also grab the LGPO, Local Group Policy Modification Tool, and download those. I've already downloaded those, and you can see here I've unzipped them. And the first thing you need to do is grab the LGPO tool and put it in the scripts tools folder. In fact, if you try to do anything without this, the executable, it won't work. And when you read the file, it'll actually tell you that the executable is not included. Please download it. So now that we've done that, we're ready to import the tools. But let's take a quick look at our domain. So what we have here is a very basic, recently built Windows 2022 domain, single domain controller, found in the OU domain controllers as usual. We've got an OU for member servers. You see a couple there. We've got an OU for client computers, and we've got an OU for user accounts. It's generally considered a good practice to split that apart for ease of management. And I've got a very simple structure here. If we look at our group policy management tool, it is, as I said, a very recently built domain. And the only thing present in terms of GPOs are default domain controllers. And as you can see, the OUs that we saw in 80 users' computers. So to import these, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to do that from a PowerShell prompt, a PowerShell session. We're going to navigate to the scripts folder. And if we take a look in it, you'll see the PowerShell scripts in question. The one we're concerned with at the moment is just AD import. The local install is good for standalone systems. Maybe you've got a system that's in a DMZ, or just standalone non-domain joined systems. The principles will apply for servers as well. Again, the focus here is Windows 11. So before we execute this, we do need to double check our PowerShell execution policy. And I will do quick command work there. And I can see that I'm in remote signed, which is the domain default. I'm going to quickly change this to unrestricted so that I can run my import tool script. And that is simply allowing to run baseline AD import and enter. And you'll see it import all the various bits and bobs. It'll take just a moment, and I can go ahead and reset my execution policy to what it was before. And that's it. That was the hardest part. So now when we go back and refresh our group policy objects view inside group policy management, we can see that we have imported the Microsoft baseline policies. Note that there are user policies and computer policies. Well, in this case, there are application policies, but they really apply to the computer. So that's important to note also, that they are split. So if we were completely confident in these policies, we could just go ahead and link them all to our necessary OUs. But in most cases, we're going to want to perform some incremental testing. So what we recommend is underneath our OU, in this case, domain accounts for our users, we're going to create an OU underneath it, call it something usefully descriptive like Microsoft and the MSFT testing. Spelled correctly is always useful. I'll do the same thing under our computers OU. MSFT testing. And yes, I could have actually created the OUs from 80 users' computers. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. And if I refresh here, you can see that those now exist. So back to GPMC. So as I said, I want to be able to incrementally test these policies. So by creating an OU underneath domain accounts and domain computers, I can simply drag or move those objects in as necessary when I want to test. If something goes wrong, I can just pull them back out. So here we go. Let's go ahead and link the two user policies to our user OU. And we'll do the same thing under the computer policies, linking those. Now back into 80 users' computers, I'm going to go ahead and move my computer, and this is starting with the user object. I'm going to move my user object to testing and move my computer object to the testing OU. There we go. So I'm going to switch back over to my computer in question. This is demo PC, just to make sure I did the right one. If all goes well, GP update /force. This should immediately apply those Microsoft baselines, as we see here. Demo computer should get all of these and all of the user policies as well. So that does come out. There's a broken GPO. Don't worry about that. I can cross-reference that. But I can prove that this worked very easily by testing one policy I know that's easy to demonstrate, which is running an application as an administrator. Now, Microsoft baseline policy recommends that you do not allow users to elevate permissions on demand. So if this is great, if this is a policy useful for your environment, then obviously you're ready to go and start testing. In my case, as we're often focused on starting with IT users, this is not very useful since we do need to elevate permissions when we, occasionally when we're doing admin work. So now we could go and figure out which policy here has that setting in place. That's actually going to be kind of tedious because there's a lot of settings as we see here. We'll take a peek at one of these. It'll take a long time to sort that through. So rather than do that, and also the other danger of modifying the Microsoft policy is it's no longer Microsoft's policy. Another administrator coming in behind me would not be able to know which one I've customized. So for that, I actually recommend creating a new a new GPO, where we're going to create our exceptions. So in this case, I'm going to call it demo, as per my demo domain. I'm going to call it demo exceptions, I'm explicitly suffix it, label it as computer, and I'll do the same thing for just at a principle for future testing or tuning. I like to be consistent, so let's demo exceptions user. And what I will do before I modify them is I'm going to go ahead and check out the settings, modify these, and make sure that for performance reasons and simplicity, that my computer policy here has a user portion of it disabled, and my user policy has a computer portion disabled. In fact, if we look at how Microsoft does it, you'll see that that's how they do it as well. And one last thing, when I make my exceptions, part of the problem is it's actually placed at the bottom of the list, the lowest priority. I want to make sure that my exceptions are going to override or actually be applied last, superseding everything else. So I need to make sure I grab my exceptions, push that to the top of the list in both cases. So now I can go and make my change and it will actually take effect. So we're going to reset that user account control permission and one other that I commonly will create an exception for. We'll talk about that in just a second. Let's do the UAC first. That's found under Windows settings, security settings, local policies, security options, and way at the bottom is user account control behavior for standard users. I'm going to explicitly configure it and require authentication, secure credentials on secure desktop, sorry. And the other policy I mentioned, I do like to change. Again, your mileage may vary. You'll want to test it for your environment, but we do here in our labs and internally is we do want to allow unencrypted BitLocker drives. So we use third-party, we use BitLocker for encrypted USBs. We also have third-party encrypted, hardware encrypted drives, and I don't want to limit use of those. So I want to make sure that unencrypted drives or those that are not protected by BitLocker are still allowed. So I'm going to disable the deny policy. And that's it. So we are done applying our exceptions. Let's go back to our demo PC. I'm going to run GP update force again. And we should see now that when I try to run command prompt with elevated permissions as administrator, wait for that to complete. There we go. I now get a prompt. So it works as expected. So there we go. Quick, easy way to elevate your policies, create exceptions for Windows 11 client systems. Just one last note. As we should be, it is now July 2025. As of October I believe, check with Microsoft, of course, but all versions of Windows 11 other than 24H2 will no longer be supported. So you really should be focusing on upgrading all your 10 and 11 systems to that build anyway. So just keep it simple. Don't worry about the older policies and templates. Just focus on the latest, since that's what you're going to be migrating to anyway. That's that, short and sweet. Getting started with the security compliance toolkits. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.